Hey Nation, Harry here. It's near the end of Q1 2020, and what a quarter it has been, as you well know. The topic of the month is we're looking at different dimensions and angles on the COVID-19 coronavirus matter. We've talked extensively to MSPs about remote worker setup. This is a little bit different dimension, so we're back with Ken Dwight, the virus doctor out of Houston, Texas. Hello there, sir.
Hello, Harry. Good to see you.
All right, and hey, I'm going to link off so people can go see the interview that we did a couple weeks ago for your community regarding how to be an MSP. I actually just reviewed that this morning. Thank you for having me on your March show. I appreciate it. Now let's get down to business. Your specialty is protection, remediation, and malware remediations and so on. Excuse me. You have updates from your community concerning the conversations and the actions with the coronavirus. I'll just hand it off to you. What are you hearing out there, man?
Well, like everybody in the industry, I'm hearing a lot this week, last week, and part of that is from obviously a lot of the vendors and the people that are either trying to sell us something or reassure us they're here for us or whatever. And most of it's the same stuff recycled. You think we should wash our hands? Just so much complete wasted time and people just trying to take advantage of the situation. Say, hey, I'm still here. Remember me, do business with me. And to me, that's just very self-serving and obvious and offensive. And so I've tried to go the opposite extreme, and I haven't broadcast anything to my whole email list. I'm about to change that because there are a couple of articles I've written and in the process of publishing about kind of distilling all of this information and knowledge and wisdom and resources into things that either people maybe haven't heard or certainly haven't been hit over the head with as many times as most of what we get. Most of the people that I'm in regular contact with as far as my clients are MSPs, break-fix shops, consultants, and people that are in the industry supporting the end users. As you know, I do also have a little break-fix shop business myself, and so I am still in contact with end users as well. Most of those tend to be micro businesses, work-at-home businesses, or ones with, I'd say, less than 10 computers in most cases. And so they don't have a big need for a lot of the remote worker type scenarios. And a lot of them, frankly, are just taking the time to stay at home and unwind or organize their sock drawer or whatever they can do that doesn't require the normal business attributes. One of the things that, of course, is a concern to all of us is our own possible limited mobility in terms of the regulations, locking down cities, counties, states, or whatever. And I know some states have been pretty extreme about it. And fortunately, Texas has not been. I'm in Houston, as you know, and Texas tends to be at the trailing edge of imposing additional regulations on businesses and on individuals, which is one of the reasons I love living here. Having said that, Dallas last night announced that they're shutting down. Everybody is required to stay at home. And as part of the announcement, the Dallas County, whatever his title is, said, and Houston's going to do the same thing tomorrow. And then, of course, Houston, first thing this morning, said, no, we're not doing the same thing, at least not yet. And so, but it's one of those things that if it happens, then it obviously limits a lot of options. Now, one thing that may not be generally known among the MSP and IT support community is that, as you know, even in the cases of a total lockdown like that, there are what's known as mission critical or critical infrastructure people, and information technology falls under that umbrella. So I'll actually be sending my list a link to the definition on that page from the government, and so I'm going to print it out, have a hard copy in my pocket in case we do get locked down and I choose to go out either to take care of a client or go get gas or buy groceries or whatever. So at least that's a pretty big loophole that we can use if we need to, and if we're comfortable. I know there are a lot of IT people say, no, I'm not going out. I'm not going to take any chances. And we're all self-employed. we're risk takers by definition. And to me, that's a risk I'm willing to take because I think it's such an incredibly small risk and terribly overblown by the media. But a website that I found very useful is the actual statistics. And this is, I forget what the agency is, but they publish it, they update it every day, and they show worldwide the number of infections, the number of deaths, the number of people that have recovered, and interestingly, a percentage of the population. And here's a number that I found very revealing. China, which by all accounts was the hardest hit, the most infections. It's also, of course, the most populous country in the world, but their actual infection rate per million residents is in the 500s. So if it were 1,000 per million, that would be 0.1%, and it's half of that. Now, having said that, I don't trust China to give us all the actual numbers. And so let's say that number is wrong, even by a factor of 10. You're still talking about half of 1% of their population. And now our number is showing as a little bit over 1,000 or 0.1%. And surely that number will go up because we're just starting to get a lot of tests out there. But still, in my opinion, it's such a tiny number that, and most of us, people that you and I would come in contact with, are washing our hands. We're not hanging out in big crowds and standing around people that are sneezing that are infected. So
I keep my disinfectant wipes right here, man. In fact, I'll do one now while we're talking. Out of respect.
So what have you been touching, Larry?
Well, hey, let me ask you this before we go, and I am cleaning my hands, folks. Take a moment to do the same if you can.
I'll just wash mine, and soap and water is more effective than those damn wipes.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Here, I'll clean my screen too. No, in your community, have you heard of either validated or heard of a wave of specific spam scams surrounding COVID-19 and coronavirus? I've heard it just as a layperson, but this is what you do. What are you hearing?
Yeah, that's definitely a big issue these days. There's a lot of spam going out there related to coronavirus. And in fact, there's one that's very widespread that says, click here for a map of the infections. And that actually is virus infected. And that's one of the resources I'm going to include in this article that I'm working on. One thing I did want to mention, just for your reference, for whatever value it may be, of my clients that I'm talking to that are MSPs or break-fix shops, I'm hearing the two extremes. Some of them I talked to have just been covered up with work. I was talking to one of them last week that said he got 4 calls in 2 minutes from clients that either need his help with a crisis or to set up remote work or whatever. Yep. And I'm hearing the other extreme. Like in my break-fix business, I have received 0 calls from clients needing help. I have reached out to a good many of them, say, hey, how are you doing? I'm here. Can I help you with anything? And some of them had little issues to ask about, but nothing that has been severe enough for them to call me. So I guess the net effect on our business is about 0, based on my anecdotal experiences, either very high or very low. So average it out, probably no effect.
Yeah, that's actually a really good takeaway. Well, I'll tell you what, keep washing those hands, and by the time we talk to you next month, most assuredly it'll be a different conversation. I do not know what the updated conversations will be. I'll leave with this though. You're doing a couple pieces. Will you have published those pieces a month from now? Is that your intention to publish those near term?
Oh, sure. Yeah, they're a today project.
Okay.
So
okay, cool.
I do want to mention one other thing, just while I've got you and throwing some accurate, legitimate information into the whole equation here.
Yeah.
The people that have been infected, that have been tested positive for the COVID-19, it has a lifespan of about 6 days, 6 to 10 days.
Okay.
At that point, it's gone, and they're immunized against it, and they can't communicate it to anybody. And so this whole issue of quarantining or self-isolating for 14 days should be more than adequate. In fact, as of a couple of days ago, there are no new infections in China.
Yeah.
The minor exception that they had, I think, one person that had flown back to China from some other country, and that was the only case in China this week or last week. So the point is, it's going to run its course, and it's not going to take that long.
Oh yeah.
In the meantime, there's a lot of people out there. I was back in Target today; they're still out of toilet paper. Which,
well,
fortunately, I buy a 6-pack that lasts me for a year, and I'm less than 6 months into my last purchase, so I'm okay. And I'm not buying wipes.
Well, make that the final word, my friend. I can't top that one. Hey, all right, be safe, and we'll talk to you in April. Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Harry. Take care.
All right.